Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Scott's Soldiers in Paris. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Scott's Soldiers. This should have the feel of a travel log, as I recently revisited Paris and two of my favorite toy soldiers, the Plat de Tang and les Drapeau de France. I referred to these stores in episode 13, but after 12 years, a refresher visit was long due. It's hard not to be in Paris and be struck by the influence of history on the city, and if you are a collector of French military figures, be they medieval, Napoleonic, Second Republic, French Foreign Legion, or both World Wars, this city has it all. These videos are not just about my collection, but my experiences, which enrich or complement my collecting. So sit back, enjoy the images of Paris, the stores, my purchases. Yeah, I did buy some pieces. And hopefully you'll be inspired to travel, be it to a toy soldier store, a show, or maybe overseas, maybe even Paris. A caveat, I recognize there are other toy soldier stores in the greater Paris area, and I will provide their details in the description paragraph, but I didn't get to see them. And so if you are in Paris and have the time, see all of them. It's well worth the effort. My visit to Paris was short with competing interests, and so the time I had available to these two stores was limited. After all, it's Paris. Lots to see, great food, and tons of atmosphere. The city's history is breathtaking. After all, you're in Europe, where 500 years is a blink of the eye. Paris has great museums and historic sites to see, and if you aren't into art or culture, you can't escape it if you are interested in history and politics. Art is often how history, celebrated figures, and the military was recorded for posterity. Think of it as the Instagram of its day. So, to not stop and look at paintings, sculptures, or the city's architecture is, in my opinion, a lost chance to expand your interest in this hobby. While there is an entrance fee for most, if not all, of the museums, galleries, or historic sites, coupled with specific entrance times, these should not be viewed as impediments. Check out something like the Paris Museum Pass, which I used, and made things cheaper and easier. Allow yourself travel time on the metro system or walking from point to point. Bring along a positive attitude because you may have to line up or a tour bus is arriving at the same time. And make use of the available washrooms. Again, if you're in Paris, you know what I mean. You are in Paris and likely on holiday, so enjoy this trip. Take the time to look at what is being offered, and if you like what you see, linger a bit longer. Let the crowd move on and take a hard look at that painting, sculpture, or historical artifact. I'll start with the Plat de Tang. Located in the 6th Arrondisement, this shop has been operating since 1749. Did it always sell toy soldiers? That I don't know, but it's located on a quiet side street about a block away from St. Sulpice Church and a block and a half from the Mabillion metro stop, so it's not hard to find. I met with the proprietress, and she couldn't have been nicer. We talked in French, sometimes in English, about the figures in the store, Paris, and my wish to record my visit. She was extremely gracious and allowed me to photograph and video her displays, and during our conversations, she helped me to identify this figure. Overall, it was a great experience. Her shelves are full of CBG Mignot, tradition, and all kinds of flats. She even had a few previously loved figures and castings. I managed to find these two Mignot French Foreign Legion figures to add to my collection. These are pioneers or sappers, which are a match to my other legionnaires in episode 13. And, as she said, sappers sont essentiels. They're essential. While looking around, I picked out this flat casting, which I plan to paint myself at some time in the colors of one of the French regiments of New France. I also found these figures, which I believed were Mignot World War I Canadians. If you have seen the CBG Mignot catalog, these figures are set number 0096, called Canadian Khaki. A 4-figure set, including an officer, flag bearer, drummer, and one marching at slope. Now, the proprietress was categoric that the figures shown in the catalog were Anzac figures with a stylized Canadian flag from World War I, but that Mignot had made an error years ago in labeling them as Canadian, and no one had bothered to correct the error. Oh well, c'est la vie. They're Canadian to me. Interestingly, when I unwrapped these figures after getting home, she had placed plastic straws over the rifles and bayonets to protect them from breakage. Wow, huh? Great minds think alike. Before I left, she graciously provided me with a CBG Mignot catalog, lots of her business cards, and this flyer for the 11th Salon Européen de la Figurine, and there's a picture of it there. So next time you're in Europe, stop by and see it. The next stop during my visit was Les Drapeaux de France. This is conveniently located just outside the metro station Palais Royal Musée de Louvre in the Colette Square or Place Colette. Make sure you exit at Place Colette because this metro station is large and crowded due to its proximity to the Louvre and the Palais Royal. Like Plat de Tang, you can spend a lot of time just staring at the window displays, and in fact you should. Don't rush in just yet because there are a lot of figures which are in the windows which are not apparent on the store shelves. This shop has soldiers floor to ceiling, and the owners were also generous with their time, allowing me to poke around the store, ask questions, and chat about the store itself while allowing me to video, take photos, and just talk about toy soldiers. I was really stumped on what to buy, if anything. Again, it was like being locked in a candy store. The choice of makers, styles, themes was a little overwhelming because much of this I don't see in North America. The choices were diverse and eclectic, and I ended up buying the following, which were designed and painted in-house, well, at least that's my understanding, by the shop, and this young woman in this photograph here, who explained that she could also do custom work if requested. The first figure I want to show you is Arsène Lupin in evening wear. If you know anything about the gentleman cambrioleur or read the novels by Maurice Leblanc, then you will be familiar with this suave, debonair thief of turn-of-the-century Paris. Netflix France has done a contemporary version of Lupin, which is brilliant. These other two figures were eye-catching and are part of the non-military selection in the store. I saw them in the window, and once I saw them, I had to, get my hands on them and look at them inside the store. Like Lupin, these are in-house products, and whether you see them as fantasy figures or something else, I found them unique and humorous. They go well with this last piece, which a friend of mine would call a prop. It is a paper cutout made by J.C. Plancheneau, I think I pronounced it right, and I will leave some links to his stuff. In French, it's called a Diorama Depliants, a folding diorama, and this one is of the store, Les Drapeaux de France, with one of the owners in the very back. The store sells other paper cutouts like this, such as theater stages, pastoral scenes, villages, but I had to buy this because it is of the store, and this is how I will display it on my shelves. As I said at the top, there is a lot to see in Paris, and this includes le Musée de l'Armée, the Army Museum. Like every other museum in Paris, a must-see, and it can take you most of the day to wander its galleries, exhibit rooms, and then finally see Napoleon's tomb. Now, there's a decent cafe in the museum and lots of bathrooms. Again, if you know Paris, you'll understand why I said that. But for a toy soldier collector, located on the 4th floor is a collection that is certainly unique. It's a room of maybe 500 square feet of toy soldiers in display cases. It reminded me of the exhibit at the Royal Ontario Museum in Toronto, the Henry Jackman collection, only this one's on steroids. The Musée de l'Armée's gallery represents the pre-revolution royal armies of France, Napoleonic and post-Napoleonic. Now take a look at these. Now I have to be a bit critical here. The lighting in the room is not great, and I'm sure there is a rational reason for this, probably related to conservation of the figurines. My second comment is that some of the displays are at a height which is above that of the average person. But what the heck? If you collect French figures, this would be on your bucket list. Now I want you to take a look at this toy cannon. I just want to interrupt you for a second here. You often wonder, what did the nobility collect? Did they collect toy soldiers? And what happened to them? And are there any figures still remaining? Well, tucked out of sight was this cannon with the following signage. Made me wonder if the museum had other pieces or if this was its sole example. I'm going to extend this portion of Le Musée's toy soldiers because there were so many, and I think many of you who do collect Napoleonic or French military figures are really going to enjoy this. I also went to the 5th floor where there are bas reliefs of French military fortifications dating back to the 16th and 17th century, and these were commissioned by the French crown. These are amazing and are three-dimensional snapshots in time of castles, fortified ports, and towns that either no longer exist or exist, but the surrounding environment and landscape has changed to be unrecognizable over the last 400 to 500 years. While at the Musée, I bought this at the gift shop. It's called Régiment de Papier, and it's labeled number 7, Les Petits Soldats de Strasbourg, the little soldiers of Strasbourg, and represents color paper sheets of soldiers that have served in Strasbourg during the Napoleonic and Second Republic. That's the pre-1871 period in French history. The book is produced by Les Cabinets de l'Amateur, and I'll leave a link in the description if you want your own copy. I also took some pictures inside the gift shop, but FYI, it's not allowed. And you can see the prices of some of the toy soldiers, etc. I'll talk more about this later on, but I think this is too much to ask or pay for these figures. Now, I may be wrong, but I think you could do better at the previously mentioned toy soldier stores. At the Musée de Carnavalet, which is essentially the Paris City Museum, there was this diorama. Again, the lighting was not great, but there were hundreds of lead figures in this Paris scene, and I would call them toy soldiers. And I'd also call what was being displayed a diorama, but that's just me. Regardless, as I said, this museum is dedicated to the history of Paris, and so it has a lot of art and displays related to French military history vis-a-vis Paris. So again, if you collect French military figures, this could be another stop on your tour. And big hint here, it's free with washrooms. So take a look at some of these pictures. So while I was in Paris, one of the other places I went to was the Musée de Cluny, and I took these pictures which you might also enjoy. Now this museum is dedicated to the medieval period in Paris, and I stumbled across this display of, I guess, children's toys, and voila! Now is that or is that not a toy soldier? Come on, tell me that's not a toy soldier. I also had the opportunity to go and see the Chateau Versailles, and there were toy soldiers for sale there, both metal and plastic. Now, regarding the metal, the quality was there, and I did recognize some mignons on the shelves, but overall I found them to be, again, overpriced, and I suspect a museum markup, if I'm honest. So, like the Musée de l'Armée, and I don't know, maybe some other museums around town, unless you're prepared to overpay or you just have to have that figure at the gift shop, I'd say pass and go directly to the toy soldier stores. But if you wanted a scale representation of Napoleon's tomb, then the price is right at the Musée de l'Armée. So thank you for staying with me to the end of this video. If you are in Paris, check out the stores that I provided in the descriptor. If you enjoyed the video itself, hit the like or subscribe buttons. And until next time, keep collecting.